the human who saved her childhood, now revealed to the alien princess. Princess Leora walked through the palace gardens, her long silver hair brushing against her shoulders. She moved slowly, her hands clasped in front of her, her green eyes scanning the flowers and fountains. The palace was alive with preparations for the annual festival, a celebration of heroes who had saved the Zainari people in the past wars. Music floated from the halls, and servants hurried past her, carrying decorations and banners. Leora's mind was not on the festival. She felt a strange emptiness, a quiet voice inside her asking questions she could not answer. She had seen many holographic records of humans who helped the Zainari, but one record in particular had caught her attention the day before. The face in the hologram was that of a human boy, but it was blurred, almost like a shadow. She could not remember his name, but something about him felt familiar. Her heart beat faster when she looked at the image, and her mind tried to reach back to a memory she could not see clearly. She remembered chaos, smoke, screaming children. She was very small then, hiding under debris as the world around her shook. Someone had lifted her up, carried her through the smoke, and saved her. The image was fleeting, like a dream fading upon waking. She could not remember the face clearly, only the warmth of the hands that had held her, the calm voice telling her she would be safe. "Princess, the council awaits you," said a soft voice behind her. Leora turned to see her aide, Mara, bowing politely. Mara was a young Zainari woman, always careful, always polite. "I know," Leora said quietly. She did not move immediately. She looked back at the fountain, the water shimmering under the suns. "Have you ever felt that a memory is trying to find you?" she asked Mara. Mara tilted her head, confused. "A memory, Your Highness?" "Yes," Leora whispered. "Something from long ago, someone who helped me." "I do not remember clearly, but I know it is important." Mara nodded. She did not ask more questions. She knew the princess's mind often wandered to things others could not understand. Leora's childhood had been different from other Zainari children. While most children played in the palace gardens and learned about ruling, she had seen destruction, loss, and humans fighting alongside her people. That was the past she could not forget, though some of it was blurry. The festival preparations pulled Leora's thoughts back to the present. The palace halls were alive with music, laughter, and color. Servants hung golden banners with the faces of heroes, some of them humans who had saved lives during the wars. Leora walked slowly through the halls, stopping occasionally to admire the decorations. The festival would be grand, and she had to appear strong, calm, and regal. Yet inside her, the unanswered question remained: who was the human who saved her? As she passed one hall, a holographic display flickered to life. The image of a young boy appeared. His hair was dark, his eyes full of determination. He carried children on his back, guided them through burning streets, and shielded them from falling debris. The display was old, dusty, and almost forgotten by the council. Leora's breath caught in her throat. The face was familiar. The movements, the care, the courage, it all felt real, like a memory trying to reach her through time. She reached out to touch the hologram. Her hand passed through it, but the memory it carried felt solid, alive. She whispered the boy's name, though she could not remember it fully. "Who were you?" she asked softly. The door opened suddenly, and a tall man entered. He wore the uniform of the human fleet, simple and neat. Leora's heart skipped a beat. There was something about him, a calm presence, a gentle strength that reminded her of the memory from long ago. His dark hair fell slightly over his forehead, and his eyes were deep, steady, and kind. "Princess Leora," the man said politely. "I am Captain Ethan Clark. I have come as part of the delegation from Earth. I hope to discuss ways humans and Zainari can continue to work together for peace." Leora felt a strange shiver run down her spine. His voice, his movements, the way he looked at her, it stirred something deep inside, a memory she could not yet name. She forced herself to bow slightly, keeping her composure. "Welcome, Captain Clark. I am pleased you are here. The Council values human allies." Ethan nodded, but he seemed to notice her hesitation, the quiet questioning in her eyes. "Thank you, Princess. It is an honor to be here." As the days passed, Ethan accompanied Leora on tour of the city ruins, the very streets where children had once been in danger. Leora's mind kept returning to that day, to the memory of being lifted from danger, to the warmth of the human who saved her. Every step she took near the ruins made the memory stronger, though still incomplete. She could see the smoke, hear the screams, feel the fear, but the face of her savior remained just out of reach. One afternoon, she stood on a high balcony overlooking the old city. Ethan was beside her, pointing out areas of reconstruction, new human-designed shelters and places where children could safely play. She watched him carefully. There was something familiar in the way he moved, in the way he spoke. Her heart whispered that this was the one who had saved her, but her mind resisted. It could not be possible that this confident, grown man could be the boy from her memory. "Do you often come to Vithuria, Captain?" she asked, trying to sound casual. "Not often," Ethan replied. "But whenever I can help, I come. This planet, it has always been special to me." Leora felt a pang of curiosity. "Special? How?" Ethan looked at her, his eyes calm but carrying an unspoken weight. "I cannot say everything yet. Some things are better left until you are ready to hear them." Her chest tightened. She wanted to ask more, but the festival preparations called her back. She watched him walk away, his figure tall and steady. Somehow she felt that their paths were meant to cross, that he held the key to a memory she had long forgotten. That evening, the palace gardens were alive with music and light. Lanterns floated in the air, casting soft glows over the fountains and flowers. Leora wandered through them, trying to lose herself in beauty, trying to forget the pull of the memory for a while. Children ran past her, laughing and chasing one another. Their joy reminded her of herself as a child before the war, before the chaos. A sudden noise made her turn. A small child had tripped near a fountain and water splashed over him. Leora moved quickly, reaching out her hand. Before she could help, Ethan stepped forward, catching the child with ease and lifting him safely. Leora froze. The way he moved, the calm in his actions, the gentle strength, it was exactly how she remembered being saved. Her breath caught in her throat. Could it really be him? The boy who saved her all those years ago? The child giggled and ran off. Leora's hands trembled slightly as she turned to Ethan. He smiled faintly, as if he knew her thoughts but chose not to speak yet. The memory surged in her mind. Smoke, fear, small hands held tightly, a voice telling her she would be safe. She stepped closer to him, searching his face for something she could not yet name. "Captain Clark," she said softly, her voice shaking just a little. "Have you ever saved someone, long ago?" Ethan looked at her, his eyes steady. "Many years ago, yes. But I do not remember every face. Some memories fade with time." Her heart pounded. She wanted to believe, but she could not be sure. The festival lights sparkled around them, but all she could see was the memory pressing against her mind. The boy from her past, the human who had saved her childhood, was standing in front of her, and yet she still could not name him. As the music played and the festival carried on, Leora stood quietly, watching Ethan interact with the palace guests. She knew one thing for certain. Something important was about to happen, something that would change her life forever. The memory was coming back slowly but surely, and the human who saved her was no longer a shadow in the past. He was here in the present, and she would not rest until she knew the truth. And somewhere in the back of her mind, a quiet hope whispered that this human, Ethan Clark, had not only saved her once but might save her again. Not from danger, but from a life without understanding, without connection, and without the courage she had almost forgotten she could. The morning sun rose over Vithuria, casting soft golden light across the palace gardens. Princess Leora woke early, her mind still filled with the memory of the boy from her past. She could not stop thinking about him. Something about Captain Ethan Clark felt familiar, almost like a thread connecting her past to the present. She dressed quickly in a simple green gown, avoiding the usual royal colors. Today, she decided she would find out more. Ethan was already waiting outside the palace gates, walking calmly among the delegations. His dark hair shone in the sunlight, and his uniform was neat and simple. Leora watched him from a distance, noticing the way he spoke to the other humans and Zainari alike. He listened patiently, his hands relaxed at his sides. She felt her heart beat faster. There was something about his calm presence that made the memory of her childhood grow stronger. "Princess Leora," Ethan said, bowing politely as she approached. His voice was soft but confident. "Are you ready for the tour of the city ruins?" "I am," Leora replied, trying to keep her voice steady. "Lead the way, Captain." They walked together through the palace gates and into the streets of the old city. The ruins were quiet now, mostly empty, with only a few reconstruction teams at work. Broken buildings, scorched walls, and charred streets reminded Leora of the chaos she had once survived. The memory of smoke and screaming children pressed against her mind again. but now she could see more clearly. She remembered the small hands clutching hers, the strong arms lifting her above the destruction, and the calm voice that had told her she would be safe. Ethan walked beside her, pointing out areas where humans and Zainari had rebuilt homes and schools. "This area was once very dangerous," he said quietly. "Many children were trapped here during the war." Leora stopped suddenly, her eyes fixed on a collapsed building. She could see the memory more clearly now, the dust, the fire, the fear, and a boy carrying children out to safety. Her breath caught in her throat. She turned to Ethan, searching his face for any hint that he might be the one who had saved her. He noticed her hesitation but said nothing. He only continued walking, pointing to the new shelters, the water systems, and the areas where children could play safely. Leora followed, but her mind was elsewhere. She wanted to ask him directly, to know if he was the boy from her memory, but something held her back. She was afraid of the truth, afraid that the past might not match the present. As they moved through the ruins, Leora saw small children playing near the reconstructed buildings. Their laughter reminded her of herself long ago, hiding in fear, then feeling the comfort of being rescued. One child tripped over a broken stone, and before Leora could react, Ethan stepped forward. He caught the child easily, setting him down with a gentle smile. Leora's heart jumped. The way he moved, the calm in his actions, the strength and care, it was exactly how she remembered being saved. "Captain Clark," she said softly, her voice almost a whisper. "Have you ever been in a place like this before?" Ethan turned to her, his eyes meeting hers. "Many times," he said, "but I try not to remember the danger too much. What matters is helping those who need it now." Leora nodded, though her mind was racing. Something about his words, the way he spoke, the calm confidence, it all felt familiar. She wanted to believe that he was the one who had saved her, but she could not be certain yet. She had to see more, had to understand the full truth. They reached the center of the ruins, where a large, broken statue stood. Children had once hidden behind it, seeking protection from falling debris. Leora paused, touching the cold stone. The memory surged again, smoke filling her lungs, her small body trembling, the boy lifting her up and carrying her to safety. Her eyes filled with tears. Ethan noticed and stepped closer. "Princess, are you all right?" he asked gently. She nodded, quickly wiping her eyes. "Yes, I just remembered something," she said, her voice shaking slightly. She looked at him, searching for an answer. "Do you remember saving children here?" Ethan's eyes softened. He nodded slowly. "Yes, I remember. It was a long time ago. I hoped the children would grow strong and safe. I do not remember every face, but some I never forget." Leora's heart raced. Could it be him? Could this man, standing calmly in front of her, be the boy who had saved her from death all those years ago? She wanted to ask more, to know for certain, but she held back. She had to be careful. They continued walking through the ruins, and Ethan began to tell her stories of the rebuilding efforts, the cooperation between humans and Zainari, and the ways both species had learned from each other. Leora listened, fascinated by his knowledge and dedication. She could see the kindness in his actions, the bravery in his words, and the memory of her childhood slowly began to fit into the present. As they reached a small plaza, Leora noticed a small medallion lying among the rubble. She picked it up carefully. The medallion was old, scratched, but she recognized it instantly. Her breath caught in her throat. She looked at Ethan, holding the medallion tightly in her hand. This belonged to me," she said softly, her voice trembling. "When I was a child, I lost it during the war." How did it get here?" Ethan looked at her, his eyes calm but full of understanding. "I left it here," he said quietly. "I wanted you to have it if you ever remembered. I did not know if you would." Leora's hands shook as she held the medallion. Tears filled her eyes. The memory was complete now, the boy who had saved her, the calm voice, the gentle hands, and the small acts of courage. She looked up at Ethan, searching his face for the truth. You are him," she whispered. "You saved me. You were the boy who saved me." Ethan nodded slowly. "Yes, Princess, I remember you and the other children. I never forgot. I only hoped you would grow strong and happy." Leora stepped closer, her heart full of gratitude and wonder. I cannot believe it. After all these years, you were the one who saved my life." Ethan smiled faintly. "It was my duty, Princess, but seeing you now, seeing how strong you have become, it is more than I could have hoped for." The two of them stood in the plaza, surrounded by the ruins and the soft light of the suns. The memory of the past and the reality of the present collided, creating a connection between them that neither could deny. Leora felt a warmth in her heart, a sense of safety she had not felt in years. As the day went on, Leora and Ethan continued to explore the ruins. She asked him about his life, about the missions he had undertaken, and about the humans who had worked alongside him. Ethan spoke with humility and honesty, never boasting, never exaggerating. Leora listened, fascinated by his courage and dedication. When the sun began to set, casting long shadows across the city, Leora felt a mixture of emotions, gratitude, awe, and a quiet hope for the future. She knew that Ethan had saved her once, but now she realized that he had also saved a part of her that she had almost lost: the courage to trust, the hope to believe, and the ability to feel safe again. "Thank you, Ethan," she said softly, her voice barely above a whisper. "For everything, for saving me, and for being here now." Ethan looked at her, his dark eyes steady and full of understanding. "It is my honor, Princess. I will always be here to help no matter what comes." The two of them walked back toward the palace, side by side. The festival lights began to glow in the gardens, and the sounds of music and laughter filled the air. Leora felt a sense of peace she had not known in years. She knew that her life had changed forever. The human who had saved her childhood was no longer a distant memory. He was here, present and real, and together they could face whatever challenges the future might bring. That night, Leora lay in her room, staring at the medallion in her hand. The memory of her childhood and the truth of the present blended together, creating a warmth in her heart that she could not ignore. She closed her eyes and whispered softly, "Thank you, Ethan, for everything." And somewhere across the palace gardens, Ethan Clarke looked up at the stars, thinking of the little girl he had saved long ago. He knew that the past and present had finally come together, and a new chapter was beginning for both of them and for the future of Vithuria. The morning on Vithuria was calm and quiet. The suns rose slowly, painting the sky in soft gold and red. Princess Leora walked along the palace corridors, her mind still full of the memory of the human who had saved her. Captain Ethan Clarke had been at the festival the day before, showing care and courage, and now Leora could not stop thinking about him. The medallion she held in her hand glimmered softly in the sunlight, reminding her of the boy from her past and the truth she was only beginning to understand. Leora's steps were light but hurried. She needed to speak to Ethan to confirm the truth fully. Could this man, standing tall and confident before her, really be the boy who had risked his life to save hers? The thought both excited and frightened her. She entered the council hall, where Ethan waited among the delegation. His eyes met hers, steady and calm, and he gave a small, respectful nod. "Princess Leora," he said softly, "good morning. I hope you slept well." I did," she replied, her voice trembling slightly. She held the medallion tightly in her hand. "Ethan, I need to ask you something." Ethan's eyes softened. "Anything, Princess, you may ask me anything." She took a deep breath, her heart beating fast. "Many years ago, when I was a child, I was in danger. There was smoke, chaos, and children trapped. Someone saved me, a human. Do you remember?" Ethan's expression changed subtly, a shadow of memory passing across his face. He nodded slowly. "Yes, I remember. I was there. I saved children that day. I tried to get everyone to safety. I do not remember all of the faces, but some I never forgot." Tears filled Leora's eyes. She could not believe it. The boy from her childhood, the human who had saved her life, was standing right in front of her. "It was you," she whispered. "You saved me. You saved my life." Ethan bowed his head slightly. "Yes, Princess, it was me. I never forgot you. I hoped you would grow strong and safe. I hoped you would remember someday." Leora stepped closer, her hand still holding the medallion. "All these years I have wondered. I could not remember clearly. But now, looking at you, I know. It was you. You were my protector." Ethan looked at her, his eyes calm but full of emotion. "I promised to help, and I kept my promise in the only way I could. I never left the children behind, and I always hoped you would grow up safe and strong." The princess felt a rush of emotions. Gratitude, awe, relief, and something deeper, a sense of connection she had never felt before. She wanted to speak more, to understand the man before her, to hear every word of the past he could remember. "Tell me everything," she said softly. "Tell me what happened that day, everything you remember." Ethan nodded and began to speak, his voice calm but steady. "It was chaos. Buildings were falling, smoke filled the streets, and children were crying everywhere. I was just a boy myself, but I could not run. I saw you and several other children trapped under rubble. I lifted each one, guided them through the streets, and tried to keep them safe. I do not remember all the details, but I remember the fear and the hope that someone would survive. Leora listened carefully, the memory of that day now mixing with the present. She remembered the fear, the smoke, the burning buildings, and now she could remember the warmth, the courage, and the calm strength that had carried her through it all. She looked at Ethan, her eyes wide. "I remember your hands, your voice. You told me I would be safe." "And I was," Ethan smiled faintly. "Yes, Princess, you were safe. I could not allow anything else. You were a child, and it was my duty to protect you. I never thought I would meet you again like this, grown and strong." The princess felt a quiet joy in her heart. The past and the present had come together. The boy who had saved her was no longer a memory or a shadow. He was real, standing beside her, sharing the story of her survival. They walked together through the palace gardens. The suns were higher now, casting warm light on the flowers and fountains. Leora's mind was full of questions. Why did you not come sooner? Why did you not reveal yourself?" Ethan looked at her, his eyes serious but gentle. "I had to follow orders, Princess." The council and the fleet did not want personal connections to interfere with diplomacy. "I could not tell anyone which child I had saved. I only hoped you would remember. And now you do." Leora nodded slowly. She understood. The rules, the duty, the fear of interfering with politics, it all made sense. But she also felt a sense of relief. The truth was finally revealed. The human who had saved her was here, and he was real. "I cannot believe it," she whispered, holding the medallion tightly. "All these years I have wondered about that day, and now you are here." Ethan reached out gently, placing a hand near hers without touching it. "I am here, Princess. I never left in spirit, and I will be here now as long as you wish." The connection between them was quiet but strong. Leora felt a warmth in her chest, a sense of trust and safety that she had almost forgotten. The memory of being saved had become real, alive in the present. As they walked, they came across a group of young Zainari students visiting the palace ruins. The children were curious and full of energy. Ethan knelt to speak with them, showing them how to navigate safely among the old buildings. Leora watched, noticing the care in his actions, the calm authority in his voice. She realized that the courage she had admired as a child had grown even stronger in the man standing before her. One child, a small girl, tripped on a loose stone. Ethan caught her quickly, smiling gently. "Be careful," he said kindly. "It is easy to fall, but we must learn to walk safely." Leora's heart warmed. She saw the boy she had remembered all those years ago reflected in his actions. The protector she had once known had become a man of strength, wisdom, and kindness. She felt a deep respect for him, mixed with something she did not yet fully understand. As the sun began to set, casting long shadows across the palace gardens, Leora and Ethan returned to the palace. The festival preparations continued around them, but Leora felt a quiet calm inside her. The truth had been revealed. The human who had saved her childhood was real, and he was here. She knew that her life had changed forever. That evening, Leora invited Ethan to a private chamber in the palace. She wanted to speak with him without the distractions of music, lights, and court politics. They sat near a window, the two suns now low on the horizon, casting warm light into the room. "Ethan," she said softly, "I cannot thank you enough for saving me, for caring, for being here now. I do not know what I would have done without you." Ethan smiled gently. "Princess, it was my duty, yes, but it was also my choice. I could not leave you behind. I could not leave any child behind. And seeing you now, seeing how strong you have become, it is more than I could have hoped for." Leora's eyes filled with tears. She felt a mixture of gratitude, admiration, and something deeper. The memory of her childhood fear had been replaced with trust, hope, and a quiet sense of connection. She reached out and held the medallion tightly. "All these years, I have carried this memory in my heart. And now I finally know the truth. You saved me, you were there, and now you are here." Ethan reached out gently, placing his hand near hers again. "And I will always be here, Princess. You are not alone, you never were." The two of them sat quietly, watching the sun set. The light reflected off the medallion, casting small patterns across the walls. Leora felt a deep peace. The boy from her past had become the man in her present, and the bond between them was stronger than words could describe. As night fell, the palace lights glimmered in the gardens, and the sounds of the festival continued in the distance. Leora and Ethan remained in the quiet room, speaking softly of the past, the present, and the future. The memory of being saved had become real, alive in the present, and the princess knew that this human, This man who had once protected her would continue to be a part of her life forever. The revelation was complete. The truth was clear. The boy who had saved her childhood was Ethan Clarke, and now, standing before her, he was more than a memory. He was a presence, a protector, and a connection to the courage and hope she had once almost lost. And in that quiet room, with the two suns setting and the medallion warm in her hand, Princess Leora realized something important. Her life had changed forever, and the future would never be the same again. The next morning, Vithuria woke to the soft light of the two suns. Princess Leora felt different now. Her heart was lighter, her mind clearer. She had learned the truth about Ethan. The boy who had saved her childhood was standing before her as a grown man, and not only was he her protector, but he had become someone she could trust completely. She dressed quickly in a simple gown of soft blue and stepped into the palace gardens, where Ethan was already waiting. "Good morning, Princess," he said, his voice calm as ever. "Are you ready for today's tour?" "Yes," Leora replied, a small smile on her lips. "I want to see more of the city, especially the areas being rebuilt. I want to understand how humans and Zainari work together." Ethan nodded. "It will be good for you to see it yourself, and for you to see the children, the lives that have changed because of both our people." They walked together through the city ruins. Leora's heart filled with hope and curiosity. She watched Ethan move among the workers, speaking kindly to both humans and Zainari. He guided children safely, showing them how to climb rubble and avoid broken stones. His movements reminded her of the boy she remembered, calm, careful, and brave. "You have changed so much," she said softly. You are still strong, still brave, but now you are more than I imagined." Ethan glanced at her. "Princess, it is not me who has changed. Life teaches us many things. Courage is born from necessity. Compassion is born from experience. I only hope to use both to help those in need." Leora nodded, thinking about her own childhood. She had been small, scared, and helpless, yet she had survived. Now, seeing Ethan and the children playing safely in the streets, she understood the importance of courage and compassion. They came to a large open area where a new school was being built. Humans and Zainari worked side by side, lifting beams, carrying stones, and teaching the children how to read and write. Leora watched as Ethan knelt to speak to a group of young Zainari students. He guided them gently, showing them how to carry small loads without falling. His patience was remarkable, and the children responded with smiles and laughter. "You were always like this, weren't you?" Leora said quietly, watching him. "Even as a boy, you must have been careful, kind, and brave." Ethan looked at her, his dark eyes steady. "I tried to be, Princess, but sometimes bravery is the only choice. When danger comes, you must act. That day, saving you and the other children was my only choice. I could not do otherwise." Leora's hands trembled slightly. She thought of the fear she had felt, the smoke and the debris falling around her. And then she remembered the boy, young and small, lifting her to safety. Now that boy was a man, and the same courage shone in his eyes. She felt a deep gratitude and admiration that went beyond words. As they continued walking, Leora noticed small groups of aliens from neighboring planets watching them. Some looked impressed, others curious, and a few seemed uneasy. Rumors of the human-princess bond had spread, and not everyone approved. Leora felt a pang of concern. She wondered if she should be careful, if she should protect Ethan from the whispers and gossip that might follow. Ethan seemed to notice her thoughts. "Do not worry about them," he said gently. "We are here to build, to help, and to protect. What others think cannot change that. Courage is not measured by approval, but by action." Leora nodded, taking comfort in his words. She felt stronger, braver, and more certain of herself. With Ethan by her side, she felt she could face anything, even the doubts of others. They reached a small courtyard where children were playing a game similar to tag. One little boy stumbled and scraped his knee. Ethan knelt down immediately, cleaning the wound and speaking softly. Leora watched, her heart swelling. The boy looked up at him with wide eyes, feeling safe and cared for. Leora realized that the human who had saved her as a child was still saving others every day, not with force or weapons, but with kindness, guidance, and courage. "Princess," Ethan said, standing beside her, "it is important for leaders to see the future in the children. They are the ones who will carry on what we build today." Leora looked at the children laughing and playing. She felt hope and determination. "You are right, Ethan. We must protect them, teach them, and guide them. They deserve to grow strong and happy, just as you made me feel safe all those years ago." They continued their walk, and the day passed quickly. Leora felt herself learning, not just about the city and its people, but about trust, courage, and friendship. She realized that the bond she had with Ethan went beyond gratitude. He was more than a hero from her past. He was someone she could rely on, someone who understood her in ways others could not. As the suns began to set, casting a warm glow over the city, Leora and Ethan returned to the palace. The festival lights twinkled in the gardens, but Leora's mind was on something else. She wanted to understand Ethan more, to know the man who had grown from the boy who saved her. That evening she invited him to walk in the private gardens. The air was cool and the flowers smelled sweet. Leora turned to him, her green eyes searching his. "Ethan, I want to know more about you, about your life, your experiences. I want to understand the person you are now." Ethan looked at her and smiled gently. "I will tell you, Princess, I have faced many challenges and I have learned from each one. But my life, it has always been about helping others, protecting those in need, and learning from what I see around me." Leora listened carefully as he spoke. He told her about missions on distant planets, about helping communities rebuild after disasters, and about working with humans and aliens to create peace. His words were simple but full of meaning. Leora realized that his courage and kindness were not just from his childhood experiences, they were who he was. "You are remarkable, Ethan," Leora said softly. "I see now why you saved me, not because you had to, but because it was part of who you are." Ethan shook his head gently. "Princess, we all do what we must. I only did what I could, but hearing you say that, it means a great deal." The garden was quiet except for the soft rustle of leaves and the distant sounds of the festival. Leora felt a deep sense of peace. She realized that her bond with Ethan was growing stronger, that trust and admiration had become something deeper. She wanted to know him fully, to be part of the future he had worked so hard to build. Suddenly, a messenger arrived with urgent news. A nearby settlement had been attacked by a rogue alien faction. Civilians were in danger and reinforcements were needed immediately. Leora's heart raced. This was the moment when courage and leadership were required. Ethan immediately straightened. "Princess, we must go." "People are in danger, we cannot wait." Leora nodded. She felt no fear, only determination. "Then let us go, Ethan, together." They left the palace and took a fast transport to the settlement. The journey was tense, the suns dipping lower in the sky. Leora watched Ethan give instructions to the human and Zainari soldiers. His calm authority and clear thinking reassured her. She realized that the boy who had saved her as a child was now a leader, capable of guiding others through danger. When they arrived, the settlement was chaotic. Buildings burned, civilians screamed, and the rogue faction attacked without mercy. Ethan moved quickly, directing people to safety and organizing the defense. Leora followed, her heart pounding, but she remembered the courage she had seen in him years ago. She acted with determination, helping the wounded, guiding civilians, and using her knowledge of the city to protect them. Together, Leora and Ethan led the defense. Humans and Zainari worked side by side, following their instructions. The rogue faction was strong, but the coordination, courage, and strategy of the two leaders turned the tide. Leora felt a sense of awe at Ethan's ability to act calmly under pressure. The same man who had lifted her to safety as a child now led an entire settlement to survive. When the last attackers were driven away, the civilians cheered. Leora and Ethan looked at each other, their faces full of relief and gratitude. "We did it," she said softly, her heart still racing. Ethan nodded, a small smile on his face. "Yes, Princess, together we did it." As night fell and the stars appeared in the sky, Leora realized that her bond with Ethan had grown stronger than ever. He was not just her protector from the past. He was her partner in courage, her friend, and her guide. She knew that whatever challenges lay ahead, they could face them together. The night was calm, the city safe, and the princess felt a deep sense of hope. The human who had saved her childhood had revealed his courage once again, and now their shared bond promised a future of trust, bravery, and friendship. The suns of Vithuria rose slowly, casting a warm glow over the palace. Princess Leora walked along the balcony, thinking about the events of the past days. The memory of being saved as a child, the revelation of Ethan as her protector, and the battle in the settlement all pressed in her mind. She felt a mix of emotions, gratitude, pride, and a quiet happiness. The human who had saved her childhood was no longer a distant memory. He was here alive and by her side. Ethan approached, his steps quiet and steady. "Good morning, Princess," he said softly. "Are you ready for today?" Leora turned to him, her green eyes shining. "Yes, Ethan, I am ready. Today we face the final challenge and I want to stand with you." Ethan nodded. "Then let us go. Together we can face whatever comes." Word had spread that the rogue alien faction that had attacked the settlement was gathering forces for a larger strike. This time, they planned to target Vithuria itself, hoping to capture the princess and break the alliance between humans and Zainari. Leora felt the weight of responsibility, but she also felt courage. She had survived before, and now she was not alone. Ethan was with her. The palace council gathered, and Leora and Ethan spoke together. The leaders listened as they outlined a strategy combining human tactics with Zainari skill. Ethan's calm authority inspired confidence, and Leora's knowledge of the city and her people guided every decision. Soldiers prepared, defenses were strengthened, and civilians were moved to safe areas. As the suns rose higher, the first ships of the rogue faction appeared in the sky. They were fast and armed, but they had not expected the unity of humans and Zainari working together. Leora stood at the command center beside Ethan, watching the radar and maps. Her heart raced, but her mind was clear. "Princess," Ethan said quietly, "stay close to me. Follow my instructions. We will protect the city and its people." "I will," she replied, her voice steady. "I am ready." The battle began with sudden force. Explosions shook the streets, and alarms echoed through the city. Ethan moved quickly, directing the soldiers with precision. Leora followed, using her knowledge of the city to guide civilians and coordinate defenses. Together, they became a single force of courage and determination. A squad of rogue soldiers approached a residential area. Leora and Ethan led a small team to intercept them. Ethan's movements were swift, his actions careful and precise. He protected Leora and the civilians, using both skill and strategy. Leora acted with confidence, helping to evacuate families and guide children to safety. She realized that the courage she had learned from Ethan long ago was now a part of her. The fight grew intense. Buildings shook from energy blasts, and smoke filled the air. Leora felt fear, but she did not falter. She saw Ethan in the middle of the chaos, shielding others, leading soldiers, and moving with a calm bravery that inspired everyone. She ran to him, staying close as they faced the enemy together. One rogue soldier aimed at Leora. Before she could react, Ethan stepped in front, blocking the attack with his body. Sparks flew, and the impact sent him staggering, but he remained standing. Leora's heart pounded. "Ethan," she shouted. He smiled faintly, brushing off the smoke. "I am fine, Princess. Focus on helping the people. We will get through this." Together, they continued to fight, moving through the city with purpose. Humans and Zainari fought side by side, following the strategy that Leora and Ethan had designed. Their coordination and unity gave them the advantage. The rogue faction began to retreat, surprised by the strength and courage of the defenders. Finally, the last of the invaders were driven back. The city was battered, but it was safe. Civilians emerged from hiding, cheering, and hugging one another. Soldiers saluted Leora and Ethan, acknowledging their leadership and bravery. Leora felt a deep sense of pride. They had faced danger together and succeeded. Ethan turned to her, his dark eyes calm but full of emotion. "We did it, Princess, together." "Yes," Leora replied, her voice steady. "Together." The palace held a ceremony to honor the defenders. Leora stood before the crowd, holding the medallion that had connected her past and present. She spoke to the people of Vithuria, humans, and Zainari alike. "This city, this people, and this planet are safe because of courage and unity," she said. "Many helped us today, but I must honor one who has been with me long before I could remember. The human who saved my childhood, Ethan Clark. He has guided, protected, and inspired me. His bravery is not only from the past, but is alive today. We owe him our gratitude and respect." The crowd erupted in applause. Soldiers saluted and civilians cheered. Ethan bowed slightly, accepting the recognition with humility. He had saved many lives that day, but he never sought glory. He only acted because it was right. Leora approached him after the ceremony, holding out the medallion. "This is yours, Ethan. You left it for me years ago, and now I give it to you fully. You saved my life then, and now you have saved so many more. I will never forget you." Ethan took the medallion gently, his eyes meeting hers. "Princess, you honor me, but I only did what anyone would do. I am glad to have been here, and I am proud to see the courage you have learned and shown." Leora smiled softly. You taught me courage, you taught me hope. And now I want us to face the future together, not as protector and princess, but as partners, friends, and equals. Ethan's eyes softened. I would like nothing more, princess. Together we can face any challenge. As the sun set, casting golden and red light across the palace, Leora and Ethan stood side by side. The city was safe, the people were cheering, and the rogue faction had been defeated. But more importantly, the bond between them had grown stronger than ever. The human who had saved her childhood had become her partner, her guide, and her equal. In the quiet moments after the battle, they walked through the palace gardens. Leora held Ethan's hand, feeling the warmth and trust between them. I cannot believe how far we have come, she said softly. From a child hiding in fear to this moment standing strong side by side. Ethan smiled, squeezing her hand gently. It is because you never gave up, princess. Courage grows from within, and you have always had it. I only helped you see it. They continued to walk, the stars appearing in the sky above. Leora felt a sense of peace she had never known before. The past, present, and future were connected. The boy who had saved her childhood was no longer just a memory. He was part of her life, part of the city, and part of the hope that would guide Vithuria into the future. As night fell, the palace lights twinkled like stars. Leora and Ethan looked toward the horizon, knowing that challenges would come again, but they would face them together. The bond formed through courage, trust, and shared experiences was unbreakable. I think, Leora said softly, that this is only the beginning. Together we can protect the people, guide the future, and create a world where everyone can feel safe and strong. Ethan nodded, his dark eyes steady. Yes, princess, together we can do anything. And so, on the planet Vithuria, under the glow of two suns and a sky full of stars, Princess Leora and Captain Ethan Clark stood together. The human who had saved her childhood was no longer a figure of memory. He was real, present, and by her side. Their courage, bond, and hope promised a future where humans and Zainari could stand united. The city was safe, the people were inspired, and the past had finally found its place in the present. Leora knew that her life had changed forever. The human who had saved her had not only shaped her past, but had become a part of her future. Hand in hand, they walked through the palace gardens, ready to face whatever the galaxy might bring. Together, they had overcome danger, revealed the truth, and built a bond stronger than any weapon or army. The story of the human who saved her childhood was no longer just a tale. It was a living reality, full of courage, hope, and the promise of a brighter future. And in that moment, Princess Leora knew one thing clearly. The human who had saved her would always be by her side, and together they would face the stars.